Okay, so fully charged, dressed. I look like I have my life together-ish. Let's get chatting. Hi guys, so today I am back with the Drama School Diaries. I'm now in 3rd year, so I'm going to be talking about my first term of 3rd year, which is crazy to think that after I film this one, there's 2 more left and then I am done and I'm graduated from drama school. But it's weird to think about this, but after I have graduated, I do definitely want to do kind of like maybe a couple more things, like more drama school diaries, because it's kind of sad for something to end. So maybe a little bit about what it was like after graduation, maybe a couple like updates and stuff like that. And then I am actually looking into doing a master's, so I may continue or make a new series about doing a master's. I don't know, but that's besides the point for today. Today we'll be talking about my first term. Now in 3rd year with my course World Performance, just in case you didn't know, I go to East 15 and I do BA World Performance. It's in Southend, and that's about it. I'll leave the links below to like all of the information about the course and also previous drama school diaries, just in case you haven't seen them and you want to learn a little bit more about what we do. I think I might do like a general World Performance thing actually after I graduate, just because then I've done the 3 years and I can give more of a like overall kind of idea of what it is, just because it's not a course that is as well known as like BA acting, for example. So I think it's good to get the word out because it is a great course and I think it's definitely underrated for what it is. 3rd year is a lot about just making shows and doing a lot of shows. So you do a show every term, including a showcase which you do in 2nd term, which I'm doing now, which I'll talk about more so when I've finished it, obviously. But in 1st term we did a theatre project which is about political theatre. So when we first got here, we had a few lectures and talks and stuff like that about what political theatre is, which is really interesting actually, because obviously you can say all theatre is political, but then there's specific obviously types of theatre that invoke a political kind of a political message and also are made for the sole reason of trying to get people to kind of take action. So you kind of need to give them, the audience, more, not an answer, but kind of make them want to then do something. And that's kind of what we had to do over the term with our project. So I worked with a director called Phoebe Eve and we created a piece called The Night of the Living. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't an easy process because it was devised. We weren't given a script, we had to just create something kind of out of nowhere. And there's a lot of things that we all felt passionate about, of course, because there's always matters that are quite important. But the one thing that was quite nice is that we were always encouraged to read the news. So one of the exercises we would do every single day is we'd walk around the space, because if you are at drama school, if you've ever done a drama class or workshop in your life, you know that filling the space is the most important thing you can ever do. Fill the space, level it out, equal it out, don't look at the floor and walk at a pace that you're all walking at, and then occasionally you speed up and speed down depending on what you're doing. We had to walk around the room, and when you felt it was your time, you would step forward, you would tell everyone the headline of the news story that you'd read. You had to have one positive and one negative, and there had to be a new one every single day. Obviously there were a couple of times where we would have the same stories, so we would just rephrase the headline if it was mentioned again. But I tried to have more diverse subjects. So I had the BBC News app, which is really handy actually, because you can tailor it to what you want to read about. By having the BBC News app, I felt like everything would be like slightly less opinionated than if I had a newspaper. Just because BBC News is the news, whereas if I went to like The Guardian or The Times or different, I can't think of any other papers right now, if I downloaded their apps, then obviously they would have a certain opinion that was throughout the article, whereas I quite liked being able to make my own opinion. Let's have a look. It's on My News. So I've got a latest section, so just like what's going on today. Women's rights, health, UK immigration, world, personal finance. I don't know why I have personal finance, because that's not something that really affects me. Social media, theatre, of course, universities and mental health, and oh, and LGBT as well. LGBTQ plus it just says LGBT on this app. But yeah, so that's what I had, just because I felt after the first few times of having exactly the same news headlines, I tried to make sure they were different. So from that, we kind of started creating and devising pieces based on those kind of things and subjects that matter to us. So I looked a lot into period poverty, which is something that is alarming, that it still shocks me now that it's something that even exists, because it shouldn't. Period poverty shouldn't realistically in the perfect world be a thing, but obviously sadly we do not live in a perfect world and it is a thing. So we made certain pieces like based on those kind of things that we felt very, very passionate about. And we had a whole completely different show planned out about 3 weeks into the process, and we put it all together. On Fridays we would always have like a show day where we would put all of the stuff that we'd done over that week into something. And we had this whole show. It also included folk tales from all around the world, lots of different countries, which was really interesting. But it just wasn't what we wanted, and it was such a mixture of messages that we just felt it wasn't strong enough. So we basically scrapped everything that we had after 3 weeks, which is really stressful. I don't think it was a bad decision. I think it was a good decision to do so, but it was stressful. And then we only had, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks after that to make a show. And then on the Monday, Phoebe just came in with a piece of paper explaining what was happening, and we just went with that and eventually put something together. And it was all about an apocalypse had happened, something had broken out, and it meant that there were ferals around at night time. And there was a house in which there were some people that were inside the house, safe, and there were some people that were outside and they wanted to get in, but the inside didn't want to let them in, and it was that kind of thing. So it was a really interesting play to do. It was quite difficult. I do think the devising process can be very stressful sometimes, but I also think it's just such an important thing to do because you learn so much from it. Plus, we are trained to learn how to create our own theatre, so devising is something that is very important for a world performance student to learn. We have devised like in previous terms and in previous years, but this was just more intense because the fact it was actually going to be a show that the public could come and see, and our friends and family could see, and all the other course members could come and see. So it was quite nerve-wracking. And alongside that, the other cohort also did a show, so we got split in half. We did the Night of the Living, they did one called Blue Dodo, which was focused on the NHS, and NHS cuts and things like that, which was really interesting because they were so different, polar opposites, but I think they were both very, very interesting pieces of theatre. And then after we did our show, which I think went quite well, it was quite nice because we got to create our own characters, but because of the fact that the show, I think the show was 45 minutes or an hour? 45 minutes to an hour, I can't remember exactly now because it's quite a while ago. But because the show was quite short, I felt like it was really difficult because you created a character but you couldn't get all of those things across. Like my character was a politician. Her dad, I decided that her dad was one of the people that voted towards this chemical being released in ferals and this whole apocalypse happening. And because I'd been forced into something I didn't want to do, my character also had like a really bad drug problem, so I had a lot of icing sugar that I would rub on my teeth. I also had a scene where I was like checking the medicine, and I was working with another girl called Anna, which I absolutely love working with Anna, she's amazing, and she would be checking the medicine, and because her character was slightly ditzy, she didn't notice that I would turn away and like eat the medicine, like take as many pills as I could, because I had a problem. And it was just a really great learning curve. So for me, I think it was a really great thing to do in our first term, and I learned a lot more about political theatre, and now I actually read the news. I never read the news before. It's just because I'm not interested in politics. I learn what I need to learn, but it's not something that I enjoy having debates about. It's not something that interests me. You can't have everything interest you in life, and sadly politics do not interest me that much. And then after we finished our show, we then had, I think it was just 2 weeks, I could be wrong, we had a week where we did we had a week where our clowning teacher came back, which was so good. He's called Mark, he's amazing, or Winnie, that's what his like clown name is, and he is absolutely wonderful, and it was so nice to work with him again. He came back and we did a week of Bouffon, which is so interesting, and it was really nice to do it in like the political theatre term, and I absolutely loved that. It was so great to kind of like learn how to do all these things. I'll quickly show you a photo. With Bouffon, it's kind of like these really terrible looking characters, obviously padded out and quite disgusting looking. It makes you laugh, but then you realise what they're doing is so wrong, that you're laughing at something and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be laughing at that at all. That's actually really bad. Like for example, we did a piece where we were cocaine chefs, and then all of a sudden it had a piece where the leader of like a cocaine farm had this like younger person, and it was very, very like deep, but because of the way we did it, like we came on with sieves being like, I take you to the candy shop, and it was light-hearted, so you were laughing, but then that was happening in the background, and it was like just a kind of piece of theatre. It's very interesting, and I really wish we could have done more, but just to give you an idea of how ugly we had to look, I could insert this photo onto there, but I'm just not very good at it, but that's what we had to look like. Just stunning. I mean, that's going to be my new Tinder profile photo, definitely. But yeah, I just learned a lot about it, and it was just really, really great to have such an interesting workshop week. And then the week we had after that, but then we had a week on Navanasa, which is something that I also think doing a week on was really interesting. It's nice because it's like a little taster and be like, this is something that you could find really interesting and you could look more into. So here's a little experience, a little taster for you just to see if you enjoy it and it's something you want to take further. But I feel like I didn't really understand why we were doing it until the last day. So with Navarasa, we experienced the 9 emotions. I'm going to say the English versions of them just because I don't want to say them completely wrong and butcher it. But there's love, wonder, heroic, anger, horror, compassion, laughter, disgust and peace, which was really interesting. So we had to use a little bit of text that we had before from like audition speeches and stuff, and then we put these emotions to them and kind of like experience them. It was a really interesting way of doing like emotional recall, and then at the end he mixed it in. So we would embody a certain gesture to go along with the emotion, and then repeated it and repeated it and repeated it for certain lines, so you could see what emotions would be attached to what lines. And then when we finally did that on the last day, I was like, this makes sense. This is why we've been doing it. And it was so frustrating because it was like you had this light bulb moment on the last week, and then it was like, okay, bye, that's the end of your week. And it was just such a shame, but it was really interesting, and I think it's a great way to look at text and to put your emotions to it and stuff like that. So that was I did find that actually really beneficial when I finally understood it right at the end. And alongside all of this, we also have an essay which we had to write about political theatre as a whole, including our experience and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate essays, but I understand why we have them sometimes. That's about all I have to say on the essay. It was a reflective essay. I don't mind reflective essays. I think they're quite easy to write. Now I've got the hang of it and I understand how to write them, but other than that, that's about it. I don't really have a lot to say on the essay section, but we did have to write an essay, so I thought I would mention that. We had a final week where we had feedback, and then after feedback week, we did have auditions where we could audition for, we had to audition for the 2 directors that were going to be doing the show for this term, and that was really exciting as well because we got given the plays to read. One of them was Makunaima and the other one was The Scriker by Carol Churchill. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I was in The Scriker by Carol Churchill, and I really came to appreciate her writing a lot during the experience, but it was so great because we got to read both texts and audition for both of them. It was just nice to kind of have that audition again and like have a go, and both auditions were so different, and yeah, it was just a really, really great experience and really fun to kind of do auditions and stuff. I actually had a vlog where I kind of vlogged my last week of second term, I do believe, and I spoke about auditions and things, so I'll link that down below. One thing that I really love about world performance is you don't just learn your lines and turn up on the day. you experience every part of it and you learn so much more about how to create theatre as a whole. So yeah, I felt first term was really interesting and it was a big learning curve, and it was nice to then move forward and start a new project the term after. So I'll be back again soon with a Drama School Diaries for the term that I'm doing now, term 2, year 3, and then it'll be the final one, and that'll be drama school over. Scary, but I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and let me know any suggestions of videos that you would like to see in the comments below. I will be doing a few theatre reviews and more book reviews and stuff like that, and tea talks, they're always coming, so feel free to let me know what you'd like to do, what you'd like to see in the comments, and I shall see you all very, very soon. Have a great day. Bye! I don't know what we did. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching.